please join me in welcoming today's guest speakers, Andre Boulay, Director of Engaged Services at Jobvite, Sarah Zacco, Diversity Recruitment Program Manager for Schneider Electric, and Rachel Duran, Manager Employer Brand Marketing for CA Technologies. Thank you all for being here today. The floor is all yours.
Wonderful. Thanks, Katie. I really appreciate this. Thanks, everyone, for joining today. We've got a lot of knowledge to share, and we're very excited you're taking time at the end of the quarter to be part of today's webinar. Everyone should walk away with a lot of real-life tricks and tips to help uncover your untapped talent pools. So again, you've got a great panel today. My name is Andre Boulay. I lead Jobvite Engage as Professional Services Division. I work with hundreds of customers all over the world to optimize their talent pools and utilize their university recruiting and their advanced hiring sourcing practices. And a little fun fact about me, I was a former customer. Before joining Jobvite, I was the head of global sourcing for a large customer of the Salesforce Marketing Cloud. And we were able to save $3.5 million from harnessing our talent pools and making hires out of our Jobvite Engage CRM in a 3-year period. So I'm an active blogger on SHRM, and you'll see all of our Twitter handles here. So again, we encourage everyone to follow us on Twitter. We will be doing kind of a fun contest as you share content and tips and tricks that you're learning today. We'll pick a winner and send them a Jobvite t-shirt, and the hashtag today is going to be JVChat. So just JVChat. Throw that out there with anything you hear today. And again, as I said, one of the big advantages of my job now working for Jobvite is I get to work with some of the best minds in the industry. And I'm very excited to let Sarah and Rachel introduce themselves, two of our great customers we work very closely with and very sharp minds in the industry. Go ahead, Sarah.
Thanks, Andre. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Zacco. I'm responsible at Schneider Electric for our diversity recruitment strategy and execution for North America. And we've been a Jobvite customer for about going a little bit after 4 years, I think now. And I'm happy to be here with Andre and Rachel to share with you kind of some learnings that we've had. Rachel?
Thanks, Sarah. And I'm Rachel Duran, Manager of Employer Brand Marketing at CA Technologies. So I manage a team of people dedicated specifically to branding for recruitment marketing, and excited to be here today.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah and Rachel. I really appreciate it. Again, for those of you that hopefully are very familiar with both Schneider and CA Technologies, again, you'll see quite a bit and kind of how these guys have revolutionized what they're doing in the field of talent attraction and harnessing talent pools. So today's agenda is very simple. We want to really address an issue that all of us are facing no matter what industry we're in as talent professionals or what demographic or what country we're in or what area. We really want to then dive into kind of the next level of sourcing. We want to make sure that you're going to know how to leverage your own building your talent pool. We're going to make sure that you have the ability to nurture your key communities and talent pools, and then really dive into a key area, events and college recruiting. Again, this is going to be, you'll hear some real life stories from both Sarah and from Rachel, and you'll be able to walk away with a lot of things to hopefully augment what you're already doing today to take back some best practices. So we know the talent gap is real. We know that it's never been a more difficult time to hire for highly skilled positions. The days of post and pray ended a long time ago. You can see from the graphic on the screen that almost 90% of recruiters will say hiring is going to be as or more competitive in the coming year. And it makes your job very hard as well because no longer are individuals going in and staying with the company for 10 or 12 years. So recruiters have to do their job very well and then do their job again and again. So it's a great time to have a talent pool ready to go. Jobvite as a company has pulled thousands of job seekers and recruiting professionals. We do a large survey every year called the Jobvite Job Seeker Nation Survey, and we pulled everyone this year, and we actually saw a huge increase where now this year everybody we talked to, nearly 82% of existing employees and companies are open to listening to a new job, even if they're happy at their current job. So stop and think about that for a second. What would happen to any of you in any field, any company, any division if 80% of one of your business units gave notice tomorrow? How long would it take you to post their jobs, screen thousands of applicants, hire and ramp their replacements? Again, also, what are the odds of retaining the remaining 20% of that team? They're going to be the ones that are going to be set to shoulder 100% of the burden of the workload until you bring in the people that have walked away. So there's never been a more important time to have a talent pool identified but communicated with on a regular basis. And you'll hear some great stories today from our speakers showcasing the importance of this. So again, we can't wait. We're excited to share the tips and tricks with you. So again, we'll jump into that. So all of you that are on the call today, again, this is kind of it's probably a funnel you've seen quite a bit. The idea that recruiting is really a huge funnel, and the sourcing is that key piece of it. When you think about it, you really want to make sure that, that we've got kind of the JobVite Engage section there where you're building a talent pool. But it's not good enough just to build a talent pool. You also want to nurture talent pools with targeted campaigns. Again, Sarah's going to talk about being, a leader in the energy industry. She's not going to go after a huge number of people that are going to be, outside of that segment. She's going to have certain roles that are looking for the best possible people in that segment. So again, her talent pool is going to be a little bit different than what Rachel's is, where she's going to focus on more of her industry as well. So again, we really want to make sure that you guys understand that, it's really changed where it used to be you could rely to get applicants for everything. But to be honest, this is really a time where, we see a shift where, typical recruiting and sourcing teams have always been kind of very close to HR. We're now seeing a lot of companies across all industries, and especially in tech, where now they're a lot closer to our friends in sales and marketing. And a lot of companies that I've worked for or worked with, they actually will have the recruiting and sourcing team directly in the bullpen with the sales and marketing team. Because again, you're trying to constantly attract talent, get your employment brand out there, and then nurture those individuals that, when they're ready to come on board, they've got a good idea of what your culture is and who you are as a company. And the idea, recruiting's changed a lot. I've been in this industry for over 12 years. I spent close to a decade working for large companies, leading global talent teams before joining JobVite as a former customer. And I've seen a huge tectonic shift in just the last, 5 years. So again, this goes back to, a survey we did with over thousands of talent leaders and recruiters, over different companies. And again, a lot of those still rely on agencies or job boards or just using LinkedIn Recruiter as a de facto CRM and sourcing tool. But the reality is, that's not going to be a good source to hire. We know that, if you're going to bring somebody in from an agency, it's usually it's seen as a silver bullet. You don't have enough candidates, you're going to pay an agency. But we also know statistically, all of the talent leaders we talked to around the world, all universally said that was the worst type of hire. Those individuals traditionally have the highest level of turnover. So you've got to have a good internal CRM you work with. And LinkedIn's a great tool. We had 45 LinkedIn Recruiter licenses when I was in my last company. And again, it's a fantastic tool. But the reality is, the really savvy candidates know that, and they start to limit their profile or misspell words that show up on a job search so you can't find them. Or to be honest, we found a lot of the really strong software engineers would actually take themselves off of LinkedIn. So again, if you're relying just on LinkedIn, you're missing a large pocket of highly skilled individuals that can come in and really influence what you're doing and be kind of those game-changing employees. So when you think about kind of the old ways to reach out, the old-fashioned ways of sourcing, doing kind of the giant blast emails that are very generic, doing kind of just not really having the personal touch, you're looking at a low response rate. There's some companies, some job boards will actually, charge, $5, $10, $15, $20,000 for a targeted email send, but they'll tell you, hey, it's really good if you get like a 2 or 3% return on that. We've really found that having a good sourcing strategy with a strong CRM, you're going to have a much higher rate of response, a 10 to 30% rate. I've seen customers that have anywhere from 20% to 40% as well. So again, you'll hear a lot of ways to kind of augment that with nurturing your talent pool as well. So you'll have that as well. And the reality is, candidates are getting wise. It used to be, only a few companies would have LinkedIn Recruiter, but now it seems, almost every company has LinkedIn Recruiter. So there's a lot more in-mails, and so honestly, the candidates start to get numb to it. They have, thousands of unread in-mails in their LinkedIn box, and they're not going to check those because they're used to getting recruiters all day. So you've got to find a way to have a more personal approach to make a unique interaction to really interact with those individuals, because again, they might have never heard of JobVite or Schneider Electric or CA Technologies. You hope that they have, but again, you got that first impression to get them interested. So we're excited to kind of show you some of the best practices and let you hear some real-life stories to get you to that next level of sourcing. The goal of this webinar is not only to educate, but arm everyone here with tools and strategies that go to the next level of sourcing, So you can go in and hire that type of game-changing talent that can drastically impact your company. We all know what it's like to work at a company where we're like, oh, we should go after so-and-so from this company, and somebody says, oh, we can't get them, that they're too out of range. But then all of a sudden you make that first hire from that company, and it's like, wow, we grabbed somebody from Amazon, from Apple, from whomever, and that employee gets to come in and really make a big impact on what you do. We're going to show you how to do that today, so we're looking forward to it. So some really simple ways are being proactive. That next level, you hear all the time how hard it is to be a recruiter. I know what it's like to carry a ton of job recs. I've been in your shoes. I know what it's like to manage a team carrying a ton of job recs. Recruiting by nature is very reactive. But thinking about having a CRM, having a way to be proactive with your talent pool, it really changes what you do. Again, you have the ability, think about every time you open a new rec, if you've got to go out and open a rec, post it onto your recruiter website, wait for applicants to come in. Again, we all know that we pay our recruiters, a lot of money to be very good at their jobs, but, it's unfortunate they spend a lot of time resume farming. You could have a job opening for a software engineer or a head of HR, and the first 25 applicants could be truck drivers or pipe welders, all great people, but not applicable to your job. But with applicants, you're constantly looking for that needle in a haystack, and we know traditionally maybe 5% of your applicants are on target with what you're looking for. So again, you're paying your recruiting team to spend a lot of time kind of hunting for those needles in a haystack. Well, what if instead you had a talent pool already built out that when a rec opened up, you could immediately go to that talent pool, search very quickly, have a pool of 25 or 30 pre-identified candidates that match the bill if you've talked to them before, and then all of a sudden you have a chance to interact with them. So again, you can see from the image on the right, there's a lot of ways to find and capture your talent into that pool, but the idea that nobody knows your company like your company and building kind of an internal talent pool in your CRM, you really have a great way to interact with that group, nurture them with branded campaigns. Let them, all of you chose to join your current company for a reason. So, Sarah might say, I came to Schneider because they have a great track for advancement, or I love the culture. Rachel might say, I love the ability to bring what I bring to CA every day. And there's little reasons besides the job and salary why you join a company, and it's important that you kind of know what that culture is, and you can kind of nurture the right people to come to your company, because again, we know that every employee is not just a resume. They're really someone that can come in and make a dramatic change on the future of the companies we work for. So we want to make sure we get it right. And again, just a quick reminder, if you guys are hearing some fun things that you like, definitely use the hashtag JVChat on Twitter. We'll definitely do some fun things there. So now I want to get into some tips and tricks to, how do we do this? How do we go out and build and source from our own CRM? I'm really excited to turn it over to Rachel, who's got some really great insight here. So I will pass this over to Rachel.
Thanks, Andre. So we have an interesting story using Jobvite here because we just implemented Jobvite in April at the beginning of our fiscal year. So we actually needed to integrate tens of thousands of contacts from the previous CRM that we did have. So this was not a new CRM. This was an initiative to make sure that we were using best practices and were able to segment our audiences. One of the biggest things that we wanted to be able to do in the beginning was to create employee and alumni campaigns. We needed to boost internal mobility, and I think that this is a problem that a lot of people are trying to solve, is how do you engage your own employees to make sure that we understand the talent that is already present before we start sourcing on LinkedIn and various things externally. And the other thing was, boomerangs. Who do we have that has been at CA? They were great employees. They were regrettable losses, and we'd like to bring them back. From there, we have discovered so much more segmenting and how we can bring everything together, from campus to diversity and all sorts of other things, to have effective marketing campaigns. Sorry, my button was stuck. So, one thing that was really interesting about the use of Jobvite specifically is really thinking of a CRM as a marketing tool as well as a sourcing tool. And I don't want this to scare anyone off that does not deal directly in employer brand, or maybe you don't have a specific employer brand or recruitment marketing team or a specialist that works with you. This is something that anyone can implement, especially if you have access to your Twitter or Facebook accounts. But you can also do it, from a personal ad account. One reason why we use Facebook and Twitter is because it is some of the lowest cost per click and lowest barriers of entry, and some of the best targeting that you'll find in marketing is available on Facebook. So we went through the training also for our recruiters and trained them all on how to use Jobvite and set up automated tweets as well. And we had several good feedbacks from a lot of our recruiters that talked about how much their personal networks were able to grow from this. And we've had a lot of recruiters come back also and talk about specific hires that they were able to find due to these automated tweets and how much more they're able to grow their networks through hashtagging.
And that was a lot of fun. I think that was a lot of fun to come out and spend a few days with you guys in New York. I think that was, one of the fun parts about the implementation was just getting to, interact with you guys in a room, get to know your personalities. And, I love that we had like a real life example with them, a week or shortly after. And that's kind of the fun part of having, the software automatically share jobs across the different employees and recruiter social networks. So very cool.
And I think it's really powerful, too, that this is a great way to say this isn't going to add work to your plate. You can set it and forget it, but you can also go in and really make it your own and be more active if you like to. So it depends on the individual recruiter and what their work style is and how much they want to get involved, but they are seeing great results either way.
That's a great point.
I'll go ahead and switch it over to you, Sarah.
Perfect. Yeah, so just like Rachel just shared some key stories about how to build and source from the own CRM and really how to find those candidates. We have a success story coming out of our Mexico office for Schneider, and kind of a challenge that we have at the time was that we really needed to hire 9 very skilled engineers in our Mexico office. And the challenge being that we have limited resources to source, and also our sourcing team is primarily based in the U.S., so that's another challenge that we had. But because of what we had in JobBite, and once we got a good organization down to how to find the right candidates, we were able to identify 53 potential candidates for this project and then hired all 9 of them in a 2-month time frame. So for 2 months of the position being open, hiring 9 candidates for a highly skilled engineer is a really good time frame. And also because of that, because they already were in our CRM, they had an enhanced candidate experience. They had, a wonderful candidate experience because we approached them and said, hey, how would you feel about this type of position? And in the meantime, they've been getting news about Schneider. They've been getting drip messages, and really Schneider's been keeping top of mind. So that's a great story that we like to share because it really is very impactful to source within your own talent pool, especially to that bottom line of the business.
That's an awesome example, Sarah, and I think it's fun too. I think it sounds like you also had good relationships with your hiring managers. They definitely appreciated the delivery of the candidates you guys had in a short time frame. And again, it's always hard to recruit in a tough window for hard to fill positions, but you throw in a different country and in some cases a different language barrier. I mean, again, so it's a really great way you guys harness your talent pool there. So again, awesome story. All right, so we've heard some good stories on dealing with the talent pool. Let's really talk about the ability to kind of target and nurture. Really want to go into the fact that, kind of the first thing you want to do is build a talent pool. But after that, you want to really make sure you have the ability to nurture them because, again, I love JobBy. I love what I do. If Sarah reaches out to me for work for Schneider, I'm going to say, that's great. I'm happy where I am. But, she keeps, doing a gentle nudge every 3 months, every 6 months. And maybe something changes. Maybe my role expands or maybe, I decide, hey, I'm in a good place. I'm interested in other opportunities. You never know if that great candidate's going to be interested 3 days from now or 3 months from now. So it's good to have the ability to nurture and touch those individuals. And that's where, again, your CRM can really come into play. And this is kind of a fun story. This is a customer of ours that we work with very closely. If anybody loves to watch HGTV, they've been featured on there as well. But Wilsonart, a great company that had not done a ton. Really, they needed to have an active CRM and social presence to really change how they recruit and attract talent. So for them, they used their CRM. They built a talent pool. Very quickly within first few weeks of our implementation with them, we were able to target 3,000 3,000 passive contacts that actually came from their key competitors that matched up exactly with who they wanted to reach out to. And again, they decided they wanted to make a big focus during their implementation to go after key sales hires. And again, the last training they had during their implementation, they sent a nurturing email campaign. You'll see on the right an image of what it would appear like on that individual. So if that person is getting recruited from Wilsonart, it's going to look very clean. It's going to have an image. It's going to have text. It's going to have interactive hyperlinks so they can then click to apply. And that's going to look very unique on a mobile phone or on a tablet or on a desktop or on a laptop. So if no one's ever heard of Wilsonart, within 30 seconds they get a feel for the culture. They can go and watch a video on the company. They can go to their Twitter or Instagram. They can do all these different things. So these guys had a lot of fun just from they did a live example email campaign. They sent out at the end of their implementation, and they had a huge response, as you can see in the bottom right. Over a 20% click-through rate. And they actually made 2 hires from it. This is the email campaign they did during their last training session with us, but they used it with live candidates and made 2 hires, which helped them save $40,000. And I think it's kind of fun. They kind of put a budget out there saying, hey, we want to get to this number to kind of pay for the JobVite platform and the services as a whole. And in the first few months, they've already saved $120,000, more than paying for an entire year of software and services with the team. So, it's important to not only build that talent pool, identify it, segment it, but then nurture it with an email campaign. And again, the results can come pretty quickly on the response rate and the interaction with the top talent you want to reach out to. So again, we really like the ability that with our CRM, you can have nurturing email campaigns. You can do graphics, image, you can drop in hyperlinks, you can do hot jobs. If you have a group of engineers or of accountants, you could list your top 5 accounting jobs and send that out once a month or once a quarter to a pool of 10 people, 100, 1,000, whatever that is. But then you also have these digital landing pages that are great ways to show your culture and encourage these individuals that maybe you've never heard of USA Today, or you've heard of the USA Today for sure, but you've never heard of the recruiting team or the company to work for them. And you're not going to do a 30-minute application as a passive or cold candidate, but what you will do is that little blue box you see in the top left, you can join the talent community. So these web landing pages can be shared across everyone in your recruiting team. They can be embedded in your LinkedIn profile, and they encourage passive talent to say, hey, you know what, I might be interested in working for you someday. I'm going to take 30 seconds and put in my first name, last name, email address, and I'm going to sign up for job alerts. I'm going to pick, I'm interested in sales jobs, so I'm going to say sales, and this is going to put that individual into your talent pool in your CRM, and now Sarah or Rachel can look and say, show me everyone that's interested in sales that came in from our web campaign. Oh, great, there's 400 people. Well, we've got 10 hot sales jobs. I'm going to send an email campaign. And the last icon there is what I just showed you with Wilsonart. Having a very clean email campaign to do follow-up. It's a great way to talk to somebody throughout the interview process. It's great to get them interested to have a conversation with your company. It's also great to reach out to individuals that you want to stay warm with. Maybe your silver medalist, we'll talk about here in a little bit. So Sarah's got a great story about this. I'm going to pass it over to her for the story, and I'll leave it here.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys might say to yourself, Andre, it's easy for you to say, to do all these things to build the pipeline, but it's harder to do. And I just want to share a story with you guys around a power systems engineering need that Schneider had, and kind of how this all worked together, what Andre was just talking about, kind of implemented into a real-life hire, and in this case, multiple hires. So we definitely had a challenge where we needed to really build a pipeline for power systems engineering individuals through the U.S. And the pipeline was quite non-existent at this time. And as well as building the pipeline, we had some immediate hiring needs we needed. So we first had to build the pipeline, and we built the pipeline up to 376 candidates, and that was through different landing pages, referral blitz that we did with current power systems engineering. We also did some targeting ads through social media to help build that pipeline as well. And once we had a pretty decent pipeline made, didn't really take much time because we utilized the resources we already had. We were able to engage those candidates, and over half, a little less than half, 123, they're engaged and interested in opportunities with Schneider. And you can kind of see how the funnel goes from there. But I think the important thing to note with this is when you have a pipeline, we had the immediate need was to hire one power systems engineer. And we ended up at the same time hiring 2 other engineers because of the quality of talent and how many individuals really stuck out through the process. And we also had 10 silver medalists. So these were people that if we had another opportunity, we would consider them for that. And these are individuals that we stay in contact with on a regular basis through our campaigns and communications, that whenever a new position for a power systems engineer comes up, this is who we're going to go to first. And this is also going to decrease that time to hire and that time to fill the role, because we've got silver medalists that have essentially already been interviewed by the company. There just wasn't enough available positions at the time. So those are who we're going to go after for those future hires. So I think you can see here that we also had Jobvite. The great thing that I really love about it is you can do a lot of results and measurements. So we sent that initial request out to our pipeline of 376 and said, hey, we have these needs, are you interested? And of that, you can measure how many individuals are clicking on your emails. Then you can see who actually clicked. So if I wanted to dig deep and say, you know, out of these 53 people, who clicked on my email to learn more about the job, and then I compared it to the actual applications, I could then reach back out to those that clicked but didn't apply and give them that gentle nudge or that reminder or that entry point to talk with someone at Schneider that kind of puts them over to the edge to go ahead and apply to that role. So this is just an example of how it all works together at one kind of time, and it also works over time, right? These are the immediate needs of this campaign at the time that we did this a couple of years back, but there have been increased hires. Obviously, the pipeline for this specific group has grown tremendously since then, but this is quite immediate as far as needs go.
And I think the coolest thing there, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say that manager feedback is probably one of the coolest things that came out of this. Was we have a director of engineering that's worked for Schneider for quite some time, and right after this campaign, he said, wow, these are like some of the best candidates that I've received in the last 20 years. And so being able to do that through JobBite and really have a digital approach and a proactive approach is just really great feedback to hear from your partners.
That story gives me like sourcing goosebumps every time I hear it. And I think the coolest stat that you showed there, the coolest stat I think I saw from there was of the 16 people that the business interviewed when you went down the funnel, they would have hired 13. They literally said, you know, we made 3 hires, but 10 were going to be silver medalists. So like how powerful that of the 16 people that sat down and interviewed from your team, if you would have had 13 spots, they would have hired 13. So, and again, I think, you know, you guys do a great job of keeping the nurturing going where you made hires after that. But I think it just really shows the quality. And I think that's the kind of the hidden sauce is, you know, being able to do this, reducing your time to fill, hire, you know, high level people. And then you have your hiring managers that might not be huge advocates for the recruiting and sourcing team, all of a sudden start becoming your cheerleaders and becoming bigger fans. And that just makes everyone's life easier across the business. So again, awesome story.
Thanks. And I kind of wanted to share with you, Andre touched on this a moment ago regarding some web page advertisements or just campaigns. And so us at Schneider, kind of what we do is we have segmented talent pools. So, for example, we've got talent pools for sales, for engineering, for finance, et cetera. But we also have different ways to pull people in that fit with our culture, right? So we've got targeted campaigns for individuals in identify as LGBT. We've got people that are university candidates that are going to certain events, et cetera. And so the power of JobBite is you can really create these web pages and change out some images without being a computer programmer or anything, which Rachel has said before. You can do this really easily. And then whenever someone from our LGBT business resource group goes to an event or a community outreach type of opportunity, they've got this Join Us app. They've got this thing that they can show a potential candidate and ask them to just write in a couple of pieces of information. And then those are people that are now in our talent pool, and they receive relevant information for them. So they're going to get information if they sign up on this campaign about our diversity and inclusion efforts. They might get some blog articles targeted to them that match where they are in their stage of life and in their areas of expertise. So we really do a lot with these web page campaigns. I'm going to ping a couple through the chat so you guys can see them and how they look. I'll do that in just a second when I finish talking. But I think we encourage our businesses to put these kind of campaigns into their LinkedIn profiles. Put it out on Twitter every now and then. These are static links that can be used at any point and updated at any time. So I like to tweet them out every now and then. Maybe you'll get a new individual who will join the talent community from your network. We also encourage individuals to put like web page campaigns such as this on their mobile device, just like Andre was talking about. That you put that on your phone, and now you can collect referrals in a really efficient way really quickly. Before JobVite, I was given my business card out at different events, and people would probably lose my business card or get lost in the shuffle of all of them they collected at an event. But now I can just pull out my phone, have them put their name and their email address in there, and now it's not just my contact, it's my entire recruiting team's contact. So the power of that is just extreme. We're not wasting time. We're not wasting energy trying to get people in. We can just easily opt them in, and then they can get email information, and then they can be recruited by the entire team for now until they get out of the system. So there's a lot of great things that have gone on with web page campaigns for us, and really differentiating ourselves from our competition and segmenting these into specific markets. So like I said, I'll ping over some in the group chat, some examples that I really like, and they all share different aspects, college recruiting or recruiting sales individuals. So the content on the page changes per the audience.
And Sarah, I think that's great too, because again, it's all about the experience. If I'm a university student and I get something like this, I can open it on my phone. If I'm home on fall break, I can share it with my parents, my family, or I can share it with my friends or anybody else. Or if I open it on my desktop or tab, I think having kind of that message and having it kind of adjust to the medium that it's being consumed on, I think is really key, because again, you've got so many diverse audiences that you interact with, and Rachel and all of our customers do. I think that's really, really cool.
Yep. So I'm going to give it over to Rachel to kind of talk about another way that they build their talent pipeline.
Sure. Thanks so much, Sarah. And earlier, I know I might have gotten a little ahead of myself. I get really excited about this part. We discussed how easy it is to leverage Facebook to target our audiences. So one really cool thing about Facebook as a takeaway is that you can go into their advertising system, and you've always been able to figure out how to target people, but you have the advantage in a CRM to have already segmented people really well. So you can go into JobVite and pull out the exact pipeline you would be looking at as a sourcer. And in fact, for my team, we often ask our sourcing team and our recruiter team to segment that out for us for who we're trying to target. And you can just upload that Excel sheet into Facebook, and that reads a couple of things. It reads, first name, last name, email, and location, and you can target ads to their Facebook accounts based on that information. And then you can also create what's called a lookalike audience, which means Facebook's data can say these are the people that most likely fit these attributes and have similar job titles, work for similar companies, and live in similar areas. So you can expand your CRM and make it one big cycle by creating, you can do job ads, but we often like to do ads even that bring people in to join the talent community based on lookalikes only, to even just add more people like the ones that have already joined our talent talent community. And we found that we have a 41% increase in job ad clicks when we use that data from the CRM to build those lookalike audiences instead of segmenting and trying to guess ourselves who to target. This is also much, much more effective than LinkedIn. Lately, we've been doing a few tests and have discovered that when you look at how many qualified candidates we get per channel and divide that by how much we spend, because we clearly spend far more on LinkedIn than we do Facebook, so we have much more ads and much more reach on LinkedIn. So when you talk about per reach, we are getting far more qualified candidates for the dollar on Facebook than we are on LinkedIn, and that really surprised a lot of our teams, and we believe that it is because of our targeting capability there. And I can go ahead and talk about this a little bit too. One of the best parts, and this kind of goes back to ads as well, is that your landing pages, and this is specifically important for user experience, but it's very important for getting what's called edge rank for social ads, which means if you have a lot of bounce rate on your advertisements, the platform will not give you as much reach for your money because you have a bad user experience. And that's why it's so important to make sure that your landing pages for these advertisements are mobile friendly. So that you have a much lower bounce rate and that you have a much higher, completion rate. Those social platforms will judge you on that and give you higher and higher ability to reach more people for your dollar.
Sure, and I'll just add a quick thing to that, Rachel. With mobile, we go to campuses with tablets. We encourage people to use their iPhones or Androids, and having the capability for a mobile response and a mobile-friendly site is really important to Schneider because we're a technology company. And if I'm trying to recruit the next cybersecurity engineer and my webpage looks all weird and funky, like that doesn't really work well with that audience. So I think that it's really cool that, we're speaking the same language that our candidate is speaking as far as the technology.
Thanks, Sarah. That's dead on, and I appreciate that a ton. I think, one of the fun things, one of our customers does a fun thing when they go through engineers. We'll do beta testing. They'll send out a Star Trek versus Star Wars email campaign to their mobile devices, and they'll kind of do some fun sub-campaigns after that. But, yeah, I think we've really changed. I think, the idea to have mobile campaigns set up, to really not only have a way to interact with our customers, our possible contacts, but also the idea that, everybody in recruiting could have this saved on their mobile phone. So the next time you're at a barbecue or you're at a conference, someone says, wow, you love working for Schneider. How do I come on board? You can say, hey, take 30 seconds, join our talent community, and go from there. So, no, definitely appreciate that. Rachel, anything to add on kind of the mobile experience or anything that you've kind of seen at CA?
Yeah, I know that we're about to talk about it soon, but really one of the key factors for our mobile experience is having the exact same funnel website for an advertisement in a live event as we do on our iPads at our booth in a live event. And a lot of that synchronicity is picked up on for technical candidates. Your technical candidates definitely understand more and are, I'll be honest, they're judging you more on your website development. A lot of candidates, from their perspective, don't realize that these are entirely different teams, that we use entirely different vendors. So that, Jobvite does provide a way for us to have clean, responsive, really well-designed websites without having a web developer on our team.
That's awesome. Thank you. So again, we've talked about kind of the traditional ways to kind of build into building your talent pools, but there are a lot of options you might not have thought of. And you've heard some great examples today. Again, Sarah showed us a perfect example of, if you want to reduce your time to fill and hire higher level quality candidates, use your silver medalists, those individuals that have been vetted, you're number 2. Another great way that we recommend kind of finding your untapped communities are the previous interns who weren't hired at one time. When you think about it, you could easily go back, 2, 3, 4, 5 years take everyone that interned for you that was not hired on at the end, as long as it was a good experience, or again, these are individuals that might have matured in the last 3 to 4 years, or have gone to work for one of your competitors and now have experience. Add them into your CRM and into Jobvite Engage, and do a reach out email that goes out to 10, 20, 100 people. Maybe 10 or 20 come back to you and say, hey, you know what? I love the interning for you. I was kind of bummed I didn't get the offer, or I kind of regret going somewhere else and taking their offer versus yours. I'd love to have a conversation. And that even dovetails into the individuals that turned down your offer. Everyone that's on this call today, hopefully what your rate of acceptance is. Usually it's pretty high. Obviously, we get to the stage of the final offer and people accept. But there are times where people come back and say, you know what, Sarah, I love Schneider, but I have another opportunity. I'm going to go with that. Well, as recruiters, we tend to pivot, go to kind of our next candidate, B on the list, get the offer out to them if they're still, a thumbs up. But the reality is we never know how small the gap was between, our offer and the individual that turned their offer down to go somewhere else. So we're obviously not going to reach out to them with a nurturing campaign, the first month they're in a new company. They're going out to lunch every day. They're doing fun events. Their office is decorated. They've got all the good things. But, what we've really found, by the data we've seen from other customers that do this, is to reach out, 90 days. 90 days into a new company, you're going to know the good, the bad, and the ugly of what you've walked into. A lot of the times when you reach out with a nurture campaign to someone that declined your offer 90 days out, they're going to thank you. Hey, Sarah, great to hear from you. Really appreciate it. I'm happy where I am, but really enjoyed my experience with you. You know what? I actually have a couple of friends that might be a good fit. Why don't you reach out to Rachel Duran? She's a great leader in the employment brand marketing space. She might want to have a conversation with you. Or they might come back and say, oh my God, I'm so glad, Rachel, you reached out to me. You know what? The job is not what I thought it was going to be. The team of 7 I was going to manage, everybody quit. It's just me and one person. We're really swamped. The culture's not really what they said it was going to be. I'd love to have a conversation and come back. So again, these are individuals at the very bottom of your funnel because they've gone all the way through your interview process, and now you vetted an offer for them. And again, if they come back and they're still in the price range, maybe there's a similar role available. You can now, have them talk to 1 or 2 more people, but make an offer now, in just a week or two's time. Take your time to fill from 3 months to 3 to 4 days. And then we love alumni. Again, those individuals that have left your company. When I was running a global sourcing team for the Salesforce Marketing Cloud, we called them regrettable versus non-regrettable terminations. And the ones that were regrettable, that was anybody that we were like, oh gosh, I can't believe we lost Sarah, we lost Rachel. Those are 2 of our best employees. They had 10 years of experience. Their teams loved them. You never know. Maybe they went to a different opportunity after a long period at your company, and it's not for them. Imagine how great that would be to bring back, just 2 or 3 of those alumni every quarter that come back with years of experience, good knowledge of the culture, and really don't need any ramp-up time because they've already been fully vetted with your company. So that's an easy one to reach out to that a lot of companies miss out on, but the companies that are doing this are seeing really good results from it. And then also internal. I think, again, people talking today, both Sarah and Rachel, they do a great job to, make sure there's communication with the internal employees. A lot of individuals will leave a company if they feel there's not a chance for them to climb the corporate ladder within their own division. But, there might be an employee right now that is working for a lead gen position for CI Technologies that could be a really good inside salesperson down the road. So the ability to have those individuals, be targeted in your CRM with email campaigns, or even I've seen companies do this with an internal, web campaign where, they encourage their own employees to say what areas of business they're interested in and sign up for job alerts as well too. So there are a lot of really strong untapped talent pools that are out there. I don't know if Rachel or Sarah, if you got any that you want to add to this list, feel free to jump in here if you want to.
I can just say that I can attest that these are untapped talent pools and that they really, really work. I used to be in campus recruiting when I first started at Schneider, and even to this day, I can still get individuals emailing back to me to say, hey, I think I made the wrong decision, or I'm now looking into Schneider, and that holistic approach of always being open to hear back from individuals is truly a game changer in today's market.
I know, and this may be not applicable for everyone, but I know for us we have two separate campus programs. We have interns, and then we have our associate rotation programs that are for brand new graduates, so a true entry-level rotation program. So for us, and of course we just started in April, so we haven't gotten to this point yet, but what we're planning is keeping those students engaged who did not get an internship who applied, and coming back to them to talk to them about associate roles once they're getting close to their graduation date, since that is, key information we can look up in JobVite pretty easily.
That's great. No, that's awesome. And I think, again, you're seeing more and more companies that are kind of, pivoting in that direction because it's so key for what they do. So when you think about kind of, this is a great segue into kind of our next section for kind of event and college recruiting. So, when you think about it, we've seen a huge change in the importance of event and college recruiting. In some cases, I've got companies that I work with that are even going into high school to start planting the seeds for the next crop of talent. So they're thinking, 5 years out to bring in kind of the next crop by getting in front of them to showcase their employment brand. So again, I want to show you kind of, that we're going to have some great stories. But again, as you listen to this section, the three big takeaways are, you want to always make sure that you're making a positive and lasting impression with your brand, but you also want to make sure that you've got a system that allows for an efficient, enjoyable candidate experience. And again, remember that, with talent acquisition around events, it's not a one-day cycle. It's a 365-day cycle. It's a 12-month cycle. You'll hear some great stories from both Rachel and Sarah here. So I will pass it over to you, Rachel.
Thank you. So one of our favorite things that we've been able to do with JobVite that really was not tactical capability for us before because it would have been so manual is using those, those repeatable web pages to create new links for each event when we go on to campuses, but not just campuses, when we go to like Women in Technology events or Grace Hopper, things like that, where we are able to not just look a little bit more technically savvy than dealing with paper resumes, but also be really efficient about the way that we are pulling people into that CRM and not risk only the person who ends up with that stack of paper resumes being the person with all of the information that can source and continue conversations with this student or new graduate. And so one of the great things about this is that we have a web page template, and one of the specialists on my team is tasked with, for each new event, just recreating the back end of what's called the Join Us app, and that is the little square that's on the page where they put in things like first name, last name, email. And so we only give those required labels and jobs of interest when we have them enter it in, because it's very difficult to do things like add your LinkedIn or Facebook profile and upload your resume when you're doing it on someone else's iPad. But the great thing about this is that you can attach everyone who goes through that Join Us app. You can attach certain tags to them, certain notes to go into each of their profiles to give the specifics on which school it was and the date of the event, things like that. And then you can also automatically attach them to an email campaign. So we'll already have that email campaign set up and ready to go. And we let all of the people that we meet at the event know that they'll receive an email in the next 2 days that gives them instructions on how to come back and fill out the rest of their profile at the convenience of their machine at home or school, or even on mobile. And so what we do is immediately before we send out that email, we're able to very quickly in a few seconds update that page to add back in all of the additional forms. It's a very cool practice. It was kind of a brainchild for a long time when we were speaking about it before, but now we are fully into campus season. And I can tell you that we're just a few events in. We're about a month into campus season, and I wasn't able to get these numbers ready before the call, but just got these hot off the presses. We already have 219 fully tagged and detailed campus intern and associate potential candidates in our CRM, which means that our entire campus recruiting team who is in Boston are already able to start making additional notes, start calling people, start emailing people, and give them drip campaigns and engage with them before they even got the paper resumes that we were able to send from the events that we have all over the country. So it's a really exciting statistic that we're seeing and how much more efficient that is. And of course, it's great for our branding because it's going back to being technology-centric, which is really important for us hiring for a technology company. This is an example of what that booth, what the iPad page will look like. So yeah, it's very easy. It just refreshes automatically each time they put it in, and it's a great process. I'm sorry, I was speeding up, but I wasn't having my slides speed up with me, so apologies. And so yes, basically this is our campus manager. She is very excited with the process, and we are moving forward with it for all events now. I'll go ahead and pass it over to Sarah.
Yeah, so Rachel kind of talked about how CA Technologies is collecting information digitally and then communicating after an event and saying like, hey, send us your resume, et cetera. And kind of, there's no reason why you can't extend that conversation. So something that Schneider does is we do pre-event communications, and I'm going to give you a couple of examples about how we do that. So we typically go to similar campuses every year for campus recruitment. We do a lot of the same diversity conferences year over year. So before those conferences, we communicate with individuals we've met at similar events or the same campus before to let them know that we're going to be there and we want to meet with them again. Super easy to do. You just can find them. I mean, it takes literally, after you have a good message, maybe 10 minutes to find those candidates in the system, send them a quick email, or you can even schedule it out to send a couple of days before the event, et cetera. So really we've started engaging that conversation outside of just the post-event communications. And even outside of just the specific, drip communications they may get. And a piece of it that Rachel touched on is regarding like the tagging. That's really important because that's one of the ways where you can identify who you want to easily send a message to. So that's been really great to be able to do. This is just a sample message that we sent to one of our campus events this past couple of weeks. So definitely works. I also want to show you an example of this very similar for a Military Mojo event. So we do a lot of military recruitment and go to a lot of events, and not only can we target prior individuals, but the military events are really good about sharing a list of attendees before getting there. And if you can get a list of names and emails of everyone who's going to be there before you get there, I mean, that is golden. So what we've been doing with those is really uploading all of those contacts into JobBy as soon as we get them. And we send them a note and say, hey, we're so excited to meet you next week. And we've got people that are coming up at these military events with printouts of requisitions, and they're like, thanks so much for emailing me, like, I want this or I want that. And you can see here our response rate on a pre-event communication for this event that was in San Antonio earlier this year was a fantastic response rate. Over 42 individuals clicked on it, and that's really great for email marketing. And at that event, we were by far the top visited booth at the event, talking to people in the lobby on the way out. And a lot of it is to do with they may not have ever heard of Schneider Electric before, but we sent them an email telling them about us and how excited we were to meet them, and that made the difference. So these are things that are fairly easy to do in JobVite, which is great to work with a system that's easy to work with, but yield fantastic results, not just for recruitment and filling positions, but just the overall branding that also takes place in these types of activities. So we are going to move along now and just kind of talk about some overall successes that we've had. So for Schneider, I can say that we have JobVite as part of our holistic approach that we're working towards as a talent acquisition team. And as a piece of that, we're really moving the bar up to be a more strategic team. And you can see here some great statistics that we have been able to accomplish over the last 4 years in conjunction with using JobVite as well as some other means. But we've been able to increase our 62% of direct source hires. We've also been able to decrease our agency hires in the last 4 years by almost 50%, which is huge. We've also been able to decrease the source time to hire to 38 days, which is really great for Schneider Electric. So I just wanted to share some of those successes with you. And I think Rachel has some that she would like to share with you as well.
Sure, thank you. So just a quick overview. I think we talked about our increase in Twitter followers, and I do want to clarify that that is overall for our recruiters as well, so not just our actual careers channel. Increased our targeted ads by 41% using CRM data instead of guest targeting, and eliminated the need for collecting paper resumes at job fairs.
Thanks, Rachel and Sarah. I mean, again, it's amazing to put the ROI behind kind of the work you guys are doing. So, kind of the real, again, everyone in the audience, I know we're excited to get to Q&A, but kind of the biggest takeaways today are, 84% of employees are open to hearing about a new job. What would you do if 84% of a key team walked away? You've got to build that talent pool. You've got to nurture them. And the reality is your best hire may not know who you are today, but make sure that your first impression counts when you reach out and nurture them, because, again, they could be a hire a month down the road or 2 months down the road, or even, later on, at the beginning of next year. So make sure that you market to a diverse number of communities and talent pools. Plant the seeds across different audiences. And an engineer will be attracted to something a little bit different than a sales professional. And again, start planting the seeds now for that next great crop of talent. So I want to give a huge thank you to Sarah and Rachel for the amazing stories today. We've got some time to jump into Q&A just a little bit. But again, I appreciate the audience's participation. We've seen some really fun things come across the JV chat, so we'll be happy to send out some fun JobVite T-shirts to everyone that's helped participate. And I guess I'll hand it over to you, Katie, for Q&A, or Claire, sorry.
Hi, this is Claire, and yeah, we've got a couple of questions coming in the Q&A box. But we do have a couple of minutes, and I know these guys talk fast, so if you have any questions, just hit that tab at the bottom of the On24 panel, and you can use that to ask some questions. So I'm going to start off here, and we've got one question that I think could be answered by any one of our presenters. How did you find the buy-in from your managers to even invest in these sourcing efforts? Anyone want to take that one?
I'll let Rachel or Sarah, if they want to tackle that one, and I can come in and do anchor.
Yeah, I can tackle it, and just as a caveat, I wasn't 100% responsible for nailing down the solution, but I know that a big part of it was understanding the need for segmentation and better being able to better source by multiple categories and layering that segmentation for sure. I think that we were able to show the value in what we were almost able to do with our old CRM and how we could complete the process and solve some problems we were having to stop resourcing over and over again and starting over for every rec.
Awesome. I know for us, when I was a customer, we were spending close to $3 million a year on agency fees, and the reality was we were spending so much money in different directions. We wanted to make sure that we could invest in a system that would again become our own internal CRM, basically our own internal version of LinkedIn. After looking at 500,000 resumes over 3 years, running 2 global teams. Our database, our CRM for JobVite Engage had 16,000 people in it, but it had 16,000 hireable people. It was, again, the cream of the crop. Everyone in there had a digital marketing SaaS background. They were exactly what we needed for our division, and that alone, those 16,000 people, were worth much more to us than 5 million people to look through for resumes out on LinkedIn or somewhere else. So having a targeted talent pool we've been nurturing and working with, again, it really helped make a big difference in what we were doing and more than paid for our investment.
Wonderful. Rachel, did you have any thoughts, or we can move on to the next question? Cool. So we have time for one last question. I know we just hit the top of the hour, but this one is coming in from Diana, and she asks, I'm kind of lost as to where to start with my sourcing efforts. Are there any quick wins you can suggest about different campaigns or a talent pool to target that you think would be the best place to start? Andre, do you want to start us off on this one?
Yeah. So I talk to people all over the world that are building sourcing teams for the first time. So really the first process is once you have your CRM established, building a talent pool. Identifying who do you want to hire. Maybe it's, hey, we want to target everybody from these 5 key competitors. Having a starting point, putting in the right individuals into your CRM, and then it's nurturing. We always tie our CRM rollouts to a company's #1 initiative, and 9 out of 10 times it's building a talent pool to hire, salespeople or engineering or some key area. So again, have an initiative in mind. Know that, okay, if I want to hire sales professionals and I recruit out of IBM, Apple, Amazon, Jobvite, and GoDaddy, great. That's a starting point. Let's build, a talent pool of people from those companies. Let's have them ready, and then let's really nurture them with a targeted approach that would appeal to a sales candidate audience, and have a nurturing campaign go out, and then let the hires start to come in from it. Again, happy to talk offline about that. Also, if you read, I think I've got 2 blogs this year that are all about building a sourcing team and establishing ROI. If you just Google my name and SHRM, each of the blogs should come up pretty quickly. But always happy to talk offline after this with you guys as well. Sarah, Rachel, anything that you would add to that?
The only thing I was going to add is just real quick is a great place to start is individuals that are already being touched by your recruitment team, right? So those silver medalists, those referrals, that's a great place to start building your pipeline, because the only extra step is actually importing them into the system if they're not already. It's already individuals that your team is talking to. So when they would refer them for the next position, or they were a referral, getting them into the system is fairly easy after that.
That's a great point. That's, dead on. 100% agree with that.
Perfect. Okay, well, I'm going to pass this back over to our friends at BLR and HR Daily, because I know they have a couple of logistics things to cover, but I want to thank everyone, all of our presenters. You can see their Twitter handles. These are the most Twitter-savvy people I've ever met, so please feel free to reach out to them with any questions, cool stats, stories that you want to share. I'm sure they'd be happy to engage. But yeah, Kate, do you have anything else to cover?
Yes, thanks, Claire. And thank you to Andre, Sarah, and Rachel for being here with us today. And thank you to today's webinar sponsor, Jobvite, for making this event possible. Just a couple final notes. Today's program has been approved for both HRCI and SHRM recertification credit. The HRCI number for today's webcast is 328380, and the SHRM credit code is 17-C0241. A slide with today's credit information is on your screen. You will also receive an email from HR Daily Advisor approximately 24 hours after this event with a copy of today's credit information along with a link to the recording. Please also note that at the close of this webcast, you will see an exit survey. In an effort to make each webcast valuable to you, we would appreciate your input. HR Daily Advisor and Jobvite would like to thank you again for joining us today. This concludes our program.